And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Wednesday, April 17th, 2024. And if you'd like additional weather information on top of what I give you in this YouTube video, you can go to weather.gov. That is the National Weather Service's online presence, and it'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S. with Hawaii and Alaska to the lower left and tabs for the various territories. You point and click anywhere on this map and it'll bring up a very specific weather forecast for any location with any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories. And I'd just like to give you a quick overview of this because many people have friends and family down in the lower 48 and other parts of the country, or maybe originally came from a location. We have had severe thunderstorm and tornado watches in effect here for areas of the eastern Ohio Valley into Pennsylvania. Been a number of warnings for some damaging winds and larger hail. Further west, critical fire weather conditions, southern Colorado, red flag warnings, and then we have a winter storm warning for the Bighorn Mountains of Wyoming and winter weather advisory around the Grand Tetons and Yellowstone. Wind advisories here, western North Dakota into eastern Montana, some more other winter weather advisories in southeast Washington. We still have some winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories that remain in effect through Thursday morning for the eastern Aleutians and areas of the west coast. Strong winds pulling through the Alaska Range, also from around the entrance of Cook Inlet across the Lake Iliamna region into areas surrounding and inland from Bristol Bay. But other parts of the state, especially the eastern interior down into the southeast panhandle, enjoying sunshine and spring warmth, many temperatures in the 50s, even some lower 60s being reported this afternoon. And that high pressure responsible for that spring warmth will continue to benefit the eastern mainland and panhandle here through at least Saturday. So some areas are enjoying some really fine weather, but inclement weather continues along areas of the west coast. Nome still under winter storm warning through Thursday morning. Light snow and fog out there. Some additional, probably a few more inches of additional snowfall possible. 34 degrees. And as we go down through the Alaska Peninsula and over toward Kodiak Island, rain, wind, and fog, 43 degrees rather. And then into the eastern interior, going up the Tanana Valley Delta Junction, gusty winds coming down off the Alaska Range, 54 degrees as of early afternoon. Klawak, sunshine, 61. And as I mentioned last week, I figured somebody down there in the southern panhandle would be reaching the lower 60s, and that has happened and will continue. So here are the current watch warnings, advisories, and special weather statements. We'll start with the Alaska Range. We have some gusty southeast-south winds pulling through some of the gaps and through the ridge lines. Gust as high as 60 miles an hour or so through early Friday morning. We also have some strong winds. Entrance of Cook Inlet across Kamishak Bay around Lake Iliamna could gust as high as 60, 65 miles an hour. And then areas along Bristol Bay and inland and parts of the northern Alaska Peninsula could see some wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles an hour, especially tonight. Now, winter weather advisories remain in effect for the eastern Aleutians, including Unalaska and Nikolsky. On the backside of the low, could pick up a few more inches of snow with some blowing snow as well. Same thing, lower Yukon Delta, winter weather advisory for additional few inches of snow and some blowing snow. Winter storm warnings still for Nome, the central parts of the Seward Peninsula and areas north of Kotzebue, the Noatak Valley. Could pick up an additional few inches of snow yet tonight into tomorrow morning. And same thing, we have some snow and blowing snow along the northern and west side of the Seward Peninsula, including Shishmaref and Wales. Another thing I want to remind you of is that this week is Flood Safety Awareness Week for Alaska. And with river breakup season almost here, it's getting closer. It's always good to be aware and proactive. One thing is, before the rivers break up and any flooding develops, it's best right now to move and safeguard any property before high water and ice breaks up. You want to have some extra food around. If you're in a flood-prone area, batteries, medical supplies, just to be ready, because sometimes supplies may be cut off for a few days or a bit longer if the flooding is significant. Know your community safety plan and emergency shelters, or check in with a neighbor in case you might have to utilize their facility there in case you get displaced, and then stay out of those floodwaters and ice flows once it's happening, because that can be very dangerous. But as far as the onset of the river breakup this season, it's looking like we've been talking about. It was going to be delayed because of the cool temperatures through mid-month. And now that we're starting to get a little more into some spring-like warmth and some melting of snow, it's at least the early stages just prior to breakup are underway, especially over the eastern interior. As of now, though, this afternoon, we've had one impulse of low pressure lifting northward, another one sitting down here south of the Alaska Peninsula. And there's generally a stationary front running along the west side of the state. This is where the active or inclement weather will be. Meanwhile, big ridge of high pressure over northwest Canada is bringing a lot of sunshine, warm temperatures to the Panhandle and clearer skies. Here's the area of low pressure this afternoon, not especially deep. It's going to break into two pieces. One's going to kind of sit and spin here in the North Pacific, south of the AK Peninsula. The other is going to lift northward tonight and Thursday and eventually pass up along the west side of the Seward Peninsula through the Bering Strait Thursday night. And by late tonight, early tomorrow morning, here's kind of that split piece of energy lifting. It's all riding northward along the stationary front along the west side of the state. There will be areas of light to maybe occasionally moderate snow, not major winter storm by any means, but just kind of that nuisance. You want to get into spring and sunshine, and it's just unfortunately not going to happen there on the west side of the state. We have strong easterly winds along the western Gulf in through the Alaska Peninsula ahead of this front. And then the big high up over 1040 millibars will just sit in place here this mid and late week over northwest Canada. And by Thursday afternoon, we have that low kind of sitting and spinning there again, and then the secondary development that's lifting north through the day and night will be passing up through the Bering Strait later tomorrow. Still high pressure out here over northwest Canada, maybe not quite as high as it was, but this front will begin lifting northeastward, and it'll begin to weaken on Friday, but decent weather, dry and mild weather, warm spring weather should continue across the Panhandle in through the eastern interior through Friday afternoon and probably even lingering into Saturday, though around these areas here on Saturday, you're going to see an increase in cloud cover. And then Saturday night or Sunday, this front will push all the way up into this area of the Gulf and the Panhandle and wash out, but it could bring with it a few light showers, nothing too big and heavy. And then we just will kind of keep an eye on the low pressures because eventually they're going to start coming back up out of the North Pacific and crossing either up into the Gulf or into the Bering Sea at some point next week. But before then, mild temperatures, a few areas getting back below freezing here across the inner channels of the Panhandle, a bit below freezing, Copper River Basin. But again, these areas of South Central have lost a lot of snow cover the past 3-4 days. We've had sunshine, wind. It's just allowing for that, not just melting, but sublimation of the snow. So it just kind of disappears because you're going directly from the ice solid of the snowpack to a gas. And that's why it just seems to magically disappear without much in the way of big puddles. 60-degree readings again, lower 60s, southern Panhandle Thursday afternoon. 50s, Copper River Basin, even up there at Talkeetna. If you get a little more sun, it'll hit 50 in Anchorage. So again, very mild temperatures. With clear skies, it could be a little cooler here in the Copper River Basin and Talkeetna come Friday morning. Generally at or above freezing across the Panhandle, and then temperatures, look at Friday again, upper 50s, mid 50s to lower 60s in the Panhandle, and certainly pretty good chance of seeing 50s in like the Anchorage Bowl and up there through even off to the other side of the Alaska Range, 55 at McGrath. So for the interior, temperatures will dip below freezing tonight, 20s to near 30 in the east central areas. Teens, single digits along the northwest Arctic coast. And then temperatures for Thursday afternoon, very warm, 60 around Fairbanks. Could see some isolated 60s up the Tanana Valley as well as the upper Yukon around Circle Eagle. And then back further west, it will be cooler, near freezing for highs there in the western Seward Peninsula. Low temperatures Friday morning will be a bit better. Still see 20s here. Some isolated teens like Arctic Valley would be a cold spot. But generally near just above freezing going down the Yukon River. And temperatures again Friday afternoon, we could see some lower 60s popping up here, especially from around Fairbanks up through Delta Junction. 50s though along a good length of the Yukon and Tanana Valleys, even 20s and above freezing along the northwest Arctic coast, as well as around areas of Norton Sound. For the southwest, We are looking for low temperatures above freezing, especially along the Kuskokwim River Basin, but cooler, a bit below freezing along the lower Yukon Delta, as well as out through the eastern central Aleutians. And then temperatures for Thursday afternoon, 40s up the Kuskokwim River, all the way up to 51 there at McGrath, 51 over at King Salmon, 40-ish going down along into the eastern Aleutians at best. And then for Friday morning lows, again, parts of the interior just west of the Alaska Range just above freezing, but cooler along the lower Yukon Delta back toward Nunavik Island, and near or just below freezing extending out along the tip of the Alaska Peninsula into the eastern Aleutians, with daytime highs along the Alaska Range and just west of there, 55 McGrath, 53 King Salmon. As we get further west, 43, 45 there at Bethel. So, certainly better than what it has been, but overall that tendency is for the northwest side of the state to average below normal temperatures here, so cooler than normal, April 23rd through the 27th. The eastern areas of the mainland along the Alcan border stand to average a bit above normal, as will the northern and central panhandle, with near normal temperatures cutting down there diagonally from northeast to southwest. And precipitation may average just a little above normal. This is not the heaviest precipitation time of year. We typically don't see really big systems with a lot of rain or snow, but nevertheless, precipitation could average a little above normal for this time of year, even though it is generally the drier side of things, as well as here over the panhandle. So with all that in mind, we are going to be enjoying, though, for the rest of this weekend and the early weekend, some mild temperatures, especially here across southeast mainland and along the Alcan border, all through the panhandle. So get out and enjoy some early season spring weather, because we certainly have earned the wait for it.